Hey, it is Greg Milby, Kentucky's Heartland, kentuckysheartland.com, sharing the stories, people, and events powering the Heartland. And today we have a cast, we have a crew, we have a lot of people in the studio, but we're making it happen here. Sarah Dakin is over there. She's kind of the ringleader of this whole deal. So you want to introduce everybody today, Sarah?
Sure. I'm Sarah Ryan Dakin. I'm the drama teacher at Central Hardin High School. I brought with me some of our cast for the Laramie Project today. So we have students Ashlyn Whitson and Savannah Weber, and then also Mackenzie Hoyer-Hendren, who's a faculty member who's participating in the cast as well.
Okay, so first of all, explain to people what is the Laramie Project. I know there's been a lot of talk about it over the years, but
Absolutely.
Explain it, what it's
Somebody
about.
else want to explain it?
Everybody, as they put their eyes down and say basically no with their eyes.
Go for it, Ashlyn. You got it. What happened that made the Laramie Project become a play?
Okay, so basically the Laramie Project is about, there was a young boy named Matthew Shepard. He was 21, and he was gay in Wyoming, and he was brutally taken and beaten and left to die just because of the fact that he was gay. And so basically what it is that a theater company went and interviewed a bunch of people from the town and try to kind of figure out what happened and talk about it, and I don't really know what the word is, but discuss the issue.
So not as much investigate the crime as the impact that it then had on the community afterwards, and show all those different sides of people's reactions.
Yeah.
It opened up a lot of discussion for people over the years. Matter of fact, they went back 10 years later,
10 years later.
and have done another project with
that play. I thought it was important for the cast to see, where some of those characters were. Like one of the characters had run for public office by then.
Okay.
There are a few characters who we get to hear from in that play who we don't hear from in the first play, and then there are a few who I think maybe we're done with that being the sort of marking point of their lives at that point, and we don't hear from.
So the play is different. It is definitely a step outside of what you would normally see in a high school drama production. So explain the reason the production is so important to people to see, and why did you guys take that step out a little bit?
We always try to have material with Drama Club that is a challenge in some way. Either it's a technical challenge to us of how can we pull it off, or it's going to make people think. And there's been so much, kind of fast track in the past several years, so much attention on the LGBTQ community, that, as I was saying to our student journalist, and when she interviewed me, that sometimes people get up in arms and they don't even know what they're arguing about. They think this is my side and this is your side, and really they're kind of saying the same thing. They just don't have the language to talk to each other, or they don't know how to draw on those similar experiences. And I think this play does a great job of showing so many different sides of the reaction, showing how language affects people, and that's a lot of the focus that we've taken at school. We just had a great conversation with the cast about, when are people saying things and it's abusive and they're doing it on purpose, and when are people saying things because they just don't know any better, and they don't know that saying, well, that's gay, when they really mean, I don't like that, is offensive, and that you need to find another way to express those feelings.
Mm-hmm. So this was more to open up dialogue and discussion, and not just the school. And so the play has a different style, more of a documentary style. Talk about how it's put together for somebody that's going to come out and see this.
Savannah, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, Savannah, why don't you tell us how this goes?
Well, this play is set up differently to where instead of having there are some scenes where there's two characters talking, but most of them are from the actual interviews that the journalists and reporters that were interviewing people in Laramie, it was what they actually said from when they went and interviewed them.
Mm-hmm. So, because there are 3 acts to this, and each one has its own setup, and it's
Most
totally
definitely.
different from the act before.
And like Savannah said, sometimes it's what we're hearing from the media. We have, one part where it's several news people lined up across the front of the stage as if they're delivering whatever their particular report is. And then we have some that's in the courtroom where we have actual statements that were made by people who were there. But then a lot of it is from the interviews that this theater company did, where it's people just talking about their own experience, saying, you know, well, if I'm gay, how does this affect my family? If I'm religious, how I feel about this affect how I should treat people? And just people kind of processing their reaction to this thing having happened in their town, which is a big deal event, got worldwide attention. Eventually, Matthew Shepard is one of the people named when federal hate crimes legislation was passed many years later. And so it has that legacy for this place that's, you know, size-wise kind of comparable to E-Town, not a giant place. People are going to know each other. People are going to think they know each other. And it's an event like that is going to have a big impact.
Yeah. Now, impact is that, you know, the drama club doesn't normally have faculty involved, I don't think.
True.
So now we have faculty involved. So explain to me, why did you get involved with this as a member of the faculty?
So the reason why we wanted to have faculty involved is because each one of our faculty members has a role that is speaking to a positive, supportive message. And so as a stand-in for these characters who are supportive of characters and how characters feel, it's giving students who would be in the audience or parents who would be in the audience an idea that these are also teachers. These are people who support individuals who are different or who may need some extra support in school. And so we're there as our stand-ins to be representative of the general idea.
Okay. Now this is the original play was written for a cast of 8 people to play 50 different characters. Are we
It's more than 50. It's I mean, if you count each juror and each news person, it's dozens. It's a lot.
So are you casting more people in this and changing that? Or are you sticking with the original of 8? And
well, we have 20 students and 4 faculty members.
Okay.
So each person has counted, like everybody, at least all the students have a turn being the narrator at some point, because there's kind of, rather than one narrator that runs throughout, they're just different people who narrate at different points. Each of the faculty members has just 1 or 2 things that they're doing, because we still wanted it very much to be focused on the work that the students do. And so in casting it, I kind of started out with those 8 original tracks so that I wouldn't, you know, give somebody something that they couldn't do, and I color coded, and it was like doing calculus again, trying to figure all that out. And then, you know, sometimes a character will say, like, it'll be one of the interviewer characters, and they'll say, today I talked to Doc, and then they'll put a hat on, and now they're Doc. Or they'll say, you know, here is this person that we interviewed, and they indicate another person, and then somebody else comes up. So it's from a production standpoint, and you guys tell me if you agree with this, the hardest part is fitting all the pieces together, that it's really choreography of how do I get from my seat? Because a lot of times, especially in the first act, if you're not speaking at that moment, you're just visible in a chair on the stage, and then we switch in and out from there, which again is very different from we're used to a scene change, and then everybody's got on a costume that matches it. We have on just everybody's going to have a base costume, and you put on one piece that indicates that next character.
So you have to sell the character as well. Exactly.
Yeah, you're not, like, one hat isn't going to change your character for you. It's that hat and the way you talk and the way you move. And so that's really, I think, in terms of being a drama teacher, the part that's really exciting with this material is that, you know, kids, like, I told them to go home and video themselves being each of their characters so that they could see if they were all different enough. That it's just from an acting standpoint a big challenge as well. But, you know, we had one day at rehearsal, we had to do this one transition, I don't know how many times, because one character literally got spun around because he was trying to go this way while a mob of people was trying to go this way, and that just logistically can't happen, and we had to get him a path so that he could get through.
That's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
So talk about the cast a little more. How did the students get cast? How did the faculty get cast? I mean, was there an audition process for the faculty? Was there an audition process for the students?
The faculty, I asked individually just if they would like to be part of it, and then as I worked over the summer with the script, I kind of got to this idea of that I wanted them to be more in the advocate kind of roles, and so I went back to them before I even cast the students and said, okay, this is where I think you would fit, this is where I think you would fit, because I wanted to make sure that would, how much I was giving them would fit with how much time they could commit and those sorts of things. And then I wanted to know I had them locked in place before I started moving the pieces of where the students were going to be. But then the students auditioned. I typically do 2 days just to make sure people have if they can't make one day, they come to the other day. But again, with dozens of characters, it's not like everybody could read for everything. So I gave them a variety of, one scene where they were talking to people, one scene that was a very dramatic monologue, so that we could see a variety from them. It's really exciting that we have a lot of brand new folks, and I think some of that, not just new to drama club, but some folks are brand new, period, like have never done a show before. And I think some of that speaks to this particular piece, that there is something in their life that makes them know that being part of this show is
This is a
important.
difficult play to be your first production.
It is.
It's a lot to take on, and I'm sure you'll have to work a little harder to make that transition for some of these students.
And in some ways, a monologue-driven piece, though, there's less, what if you drop this line here and I drop this line here to worry about. But again, in a monologue, if you get stuck, there isn't anybody who can help you, and so we've been driving that home from the very beginning,
Yeah. So I know, Savannah, I know you personally, you were like camping family a lot, and I know you've been in a lot of different productions, a lot of different roles. This is definitely totally different from something that you have done in the past. So what do you think is the biggest challenge in this production for you?
The biggest challenge for me is trying to figure out how to make each character that I play different, because I've tried using different accents for certain characters, standing in a different position for certain characters, and just having a different overall tone with each character, which is something I haven't had to do for another show or for more than one character in a show.
And make, you were talking that you've got a hat to change or something else. On a lot of the other productions that we see, the costumes really put the person in that role, and you can kind of fall into that a little bit. So I guess that does make it a little more of a challenge. All right, what about you? I mean, what stands out to you? What have you learned in your role so far? I know we're early on in this process.
Well, for me, one of my roles is Erin McKinney, which is one of the perpetrators, and that's completely different than anything I've ever done, and complete opposite of my personality. But he has a lot of slurs, I guess you would say, in his dialogue, and I would never say them. And so trying to act like him but not become him is kind of challenging.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to explain
Well,
that.
I get it. Being someone that has done radio for years ago, we did a lot of voice characters. And nothing drove my wife crazier than me working on one of those characters, because you really kind of fell into that character. And so I guess with you've got multiple characters to deal with. So I'm sure that's a challenge, because your brain has to also click over and go, okay, now I'm this person.
Yeah.
So is that tough to do?
Well, yes, and his personality is completely different than all my other characters that I portray too. So it's hard to differentiate and then jump right into him.
Okay. All right, so the show is coming up on the 18th and 19th at Hardin County Schools Performing Arts Center, the back, as we like to say. Sarah, on October 20th, what do you hope people will think about this production you guys have put together?
I hope people will still have in their minds some of the words that they've heard and identify with where they fit, what they can relate to. We talk with the cast on, because I'll say things in rehearsal. I'll be like, oh yeah, the audience is going to react this way to when you say that. And then I'll have to say, except not everybody's going to react that way. Some people are going to, while we're like cringing at what she says, somebody else might think, yeah, she's got a point, but hopefully people will be able to reflect on those things that really resonate with them and help them be able to talk to each other and be able to say, like Mackenzie and I were just talking when we came in about that, sometimes people just don't know the pressures that are on our students, period, but especially on some of our LGBTQ students. Statistics show us how endangered some of those kids can be in terms of suicide risk and some of those things. And, me personally, as a teacher and as a parent, I don't think we can afford to live in a world where we don't educate ourselves on how to treat people and, no matter what our background is, finding a way to make that happen in society, that we can treat everybody justly.
No, we're all human.
Right.
Most of us have hair. I was going to say we all have hair, but not every one of us completely have enough. So, Mackenzie, what about you? What do you hope that someone comes to you in a class after October the 19th? What would you envision that looking like?
So I happen to additionally run at school our LGBTQ club called the Spectrum Club. And so over the course of the past couple of years, when I explain to the students what the club is, it's not always, you get some underhanded comments from some students who have opinions about things. And I really just want students to come into my classroom the next day with a sense of understanding that even if they feel one way, that they can accept the fact that we should be nice to each other. Like you said, we're all human, and so treat everyone with a little bit of respect. Some people are going through things that you can't even dream of. And so not even only for our LGBTQ students, but everyone, if we can treat everyone with a little bit of respect, and they can take away the end part of this play has a spectacular message. And so if that can resonate with anyone sitting in the audience, I think that will be my goal.
All right. So the show is the 18th and 19th. Again, as I mentioned, Hardin County Schools Performing Arts Center. How do you get tickets?
You can buy tickets with cash or check at the door. Students at school can buy them from me during power hour, or families can send in if they know how many people are coming and want to buy tickets ahead of time. We don't have a way to take credit cards because it all has to go through the bookkeeper and that stuff, but cash or check at the door. We got plenty of room at the PAC. Yeah. We do have a school day matinee on the 18th, so we have a number of students coming from Central Hardin, but we'd love to have more groups come. So school groups out there, high school groups, if you see this in time, get in touch with me through Central Hardin. We do recommend this as a production for high school and up. Like my niece Harper is going to come see it. She's in middle school, but she has that support from her parents to be able to talk about it. We just caution families that we do, the Tectonic Theater Project allows us to change some of the profanity and stuff that was originally in people's interviews to make it acceptable and accessible to schools. They really want schools to be able to do this show, which I think is great. But I just want to make people know what they're coming into. There is some language that is real about how people talk to each other. And if we took all that away, then we would be kind of ignoring some of what some of our folks face on a daily basis. So just so folks know what they're getting into when they come see it. We don't see any violence on stage, but we do have descriptions of it. So it's not an easy show to watch. It's not an easy show to be in, but I was in it myself several years ago, and it's one of the ones that will stick with me all of my life, and I hope that is the case for our cast and crew now.
All right, and then ticket prices are?
$5.
All right, $5. So if you're watching this at Kentucky'sHeartland.com, you can go right below this video, and the information is there, an email to get a hold of Mistaken there, and you can get more information with that. Also, turn-by-turn directions to get to the PAC. Also below that, if you're checking out this on the community calendar page for the October 18th or 19th dates, all that information again is underneath this video as well. All right, thank you guys for coming in and sharing.
We appreciate it.
All right, I'm Greg Milby, Community Storyteller, and this is all about the Laramie Project Central Hardin High School drama is putting together for the 18th and 19th at the Hardin County Schools Performing Arts Center. Thank you for watching.